Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Woohoo! It's if you smile, it increases the value of your face. Welcome to Native Wellness Institute's Wellness Wednesday. Nistu Nidaniko Makoyo Sakoi Nistam Skapi Pikani Nistu the badass auntie. I was just having a good time. I'm taking a break. You're welcome to come join. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on today, Wednesday, on the Blackfeet Reservation. There is a gathering of nationwide indigenous and tribal people that are bringing back and reclaiming their language. And not just the language, not just to speak it, but it's a philosophy. We were all in dialogue, and it's a philosophy, and it's almost like a moral code of behavior. You can't just be speaking the language and then doing white man's behavior. Well, you have to do white man's behavior, to get your degrees and to publish and to do other things like pay your taxes, don't break the law, those kind of things, because that's a collective agreement, in our state, our county, our reserve, our reservation, our village. But there's like an indigenous, and some of, what's really cool is I just listened to hundreds of different tribes speak yesterday, and it was like the descendants of, Leroy Little Bear. It was like descendants of, ancestors and Rocky Boy, ancestors at Crow, ancestors at the band of Potawatomi. They were coming through their young people, and they were looking at the moral biosystems in which we keep the earth in balance and keep our people in balance. Because if the earth is in balance, the people are in balance. So it's just incredible. And, and everyone, can articulate because they have learned their bicultural and tricultural, quadruple cultural. There was even some, they were manic 10. They had 10 cultures. What wouldn't that be? Oh God, what a beautiful challenge if you had 10 cultures in your blood and in your moral code and in your collective agreements, and you had to show all of the 10 cultures. Wow, that would, just think about how incredible that thought, because like even when everyone was teasing because, we tease. We were with the elders, Herman from Sixikai. There was our elders, we had Natuap, Isaki, Carol Murray. We had Marvin Weatherwack Sr. And we were blessed with Sandra Many Feathers and some Kainai that just came down and always contribute. And so we had speakers from many tribes, but the outsiders, and I say the outsider tribes and the indigenous, this was their first time to the res. I mean, the Blackfeet res. They've been to reses, right? And I was just laughing to myself because one time someone told me, yeah, when I go to Browning, you better lock your doors, eh? Don't drive down Main Street. Lock your doors. I mean, what the hell? We ain't going to do nothing to you. We let all these tourists through, and so far, they say, hey, it's tourist season. Can we shoot them? Hey, a bumper sticker. No, we're not shooting them. We're greeting them. We're being kind to them. We're telling them, because they always ask patronizing racist questions like, did you make that? Did you sew that? So I just, smile back at them and I go, did you make that shirt or did Walmart? Did you make those pants or did Walmart? Anyway, it's so welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Just in a good mood, and I'm heading over to the Blackfeet. You're welcome to come. The Blackfeet sobriety camp. Sheridan Grounds and the staff at Crystal Creek invited me to tell not only my own sobriety story, but to tell stories of the Bab St. Mary's area. So I sat out back for a long time early this morning and watching, the water animals and watching, the osprey fly over. They hunt out here. There's good fishing, and I was thinking about the bull trout, because the bull trout only in the lower 48 have, been documented to be in this area. So I was talking to all of them, and I was just saying, please help me today to think of the story when I go to the sobriety camp to talk about this area. And then right when that was happening, there's these hummingbirds come and buzz my head, and I was looking down, and there was, fish were jumping because they make circles, out on the lake, and it was just so beautiful. And I thought, wow, I wish, sometimes we're in these square buildings. Herman was talking about that, that we always sat in a circle. Most of our house structures were round. Our lodges, our hogans, they were round, and it wasn't till we started to think philosophically different until they put us in boxes, eh? And so our hexagons are just, how we begin to think differently and not, in a circle. We say clockwise. Some tribes go counterclockwise. And he was just introducing, it's philosophical. Like if we, and there we had so many people that it took time because they were taught their moral code. And I say moral because it's about your behavior in your heart. Like don't have a skunk's heart, a stink heart. Skunks are cool, but some people think they don't smell good. I think they really smell. I like the smell. But when you come into a circle, get there early. Take time to go shake everyone's hand in the circle and take your time to greet them. And even, if you see someone you hadn't seen and you got to make amends, greet them. Give them the nod. Give them the smile. A smile always works. And then, get braver as you're going around the circle. Just hug them. Just grab them and say, oh, I'm really glad to see you. And hug them. Hug them with be transparent. That's being transparent. Hug them. It's really good to see you. How's your family? Oki, Sinadapi, how are you? How are you living? How are you? And so that was happening. So I'm just coming from that, and I just thought, wow, I have to, my heart and my emotions are still processing all the goodness in the past couple of days since I was at the BCC colloquium. And, from going out to Buffalo Lake, and our whole class, it's our class, and my family's teasing me because they keep calling me and say, did you go to class? I said, yeah, I went to class, and I tried my best to shut up and listen. Because when you go to class, you got to shut up and listen. But I was listening. Oh, man. And when we went out on, you can go towards where Ethel Conley's veterinarian places. And this is how Badass Auntie gives directions. Go to where Ethel Conley's, the Blackfeet veterinarian that saves all of our horses, cows, bulls, dogs, cats. I mean, and where Ethel's at, hook a left. That's your Badass Auntie GPS. Hook a left there and go all the way almost to the border. And then when you can kind of smell ketchup, potato chips, eh? Sniff the air. Then look to the right, and there's Buffalo Lake. Badass Auntie GPS. Then you hook a right. And don't go in the mud with your vehicle because you might fall in the mud. And next thing so we our class. And thank you, Trace Yellow Owl. Oh my God. Thank you, Helen Auger. Thank you, Sheldon Auger. And thank you, Dustin and Shelley, for making a trip down. And there was just so many of us collectively, and everybody was happy. It's your birthright to thrive and to live happiness. And then we had learned a song from Dustin to sing, because you got to sing to the Aniskum and the stories of Aniskum, how a lot of the powers, and they said that, and Shelton said it again, the powers with our women. I mean, our men are powerful; they're a very important role, but our women are powerful. That Aniskum was calling her. And that was when the people didn't have much food, and it made a promise that the people would always to sing these songs and to take care of that buffalo rock, that Aniskum, that petrified rock, and we would always have food. But I swear we've had food. Indians are, no matter what, they might be skimping by, but they're making the best. I mean, we just had food. So we were out at the Buffalo Lake, and we kind of allowed everyone to go as they wanted to go. Just said our prayer. Some people had tobacco, some people have other offerings that they put out, and they might put. Sometimes you wrap in a cloth some meat. It's always good to put meat, buffalo meat if you got it. Elk meat. Ooh, elk meat with fat. I'm not hungry, but man, I could eat. I mean, yesterday when I had I think 11 little bags of dry meat, and I was trying to think about, I was going to a gathering at BCC, and I didn't want to eat donuts. That's okay, but I don't eat donuts, and because I want to live long. So I don't eat donuts. So I thought, well, what could I bring? So I went out, and because I have wild rhubarb. It grows out of a rock behind my house, and we learned a lot about it when we first moved here. We learned the green leaves are poisonous. You can't eat that, but the rhubarb is red, and it's juicy, and it's tasty. And so everyone starts, some of our outside guests, they had never had wild rhubarb because they just harvested it and then drove straight to town. And thank you, Trace Spoon Hunter, just got up and helped me cut it so everyone could taste. And then we put all the bags of dry meat out. It was just so cool because everybody's looking, how like Indian side eye. Because we were doing introductions, and and they're also so achieved and so accomplished, all their studies and all their data and sage and biosystems, and they were introducing in their own language. And so it came to my turn, and I go, okay, Nistuni Daniko Makoyo Sequoia. I'm just an old Indian lady that lives in the woods, but I brought you some wild rhubarb and some dry meat. And woo, all the Indian ears went, wing. And you know how like Indians go, whoa, they turned. And I said, well, we'll put it out, and there should be enough for everyone to have some. And so there's your first instructions for a moral behavior and moral code. Is that means when you go up there, you don't be greedy. Don't be greedy. Don't be over there, taking some for later. It's like, when people come and take 10 plates. When you look at, there's a long line, and the last person in the line might not get a plate because you goddamn took 10 plates. Knock that off. That's a badass auntie slap. Anyway, everybody got a taste. But I said, and again, that I heard if you eat your traditional foods, you hear better. Seattle Indian Health Board, our elder, so he would always bring dry meat. So that, I was trying to, what could I gift? So I brought dry meat. So everybody, and a lot of it had fat. I mean, have dry meat with fat on it, like, because there's, gosh, my dad used to say this word that everything goes down better if there's lots of fat. Like marbled ribeye, marbled buffalo, rib steak, marbled, elks don't have a lot of fat, but they have some, but man, that fat is good. So it was so beautiful because I was standing with a young man and he was from the Prairie Band of Potawatomi. Very respectful, had a good moral. You could just tell, and we were visiting, so I started naming some of his relatives, Arlene, and and I knew all the old ladies there, and the old men, but I knew all the old ladies, and he was kind of shocked that, he comes to Browning, Montana, and I know all his elders, and I go, well, I was visiting with Dr. Roz Lapierre, who's, she's a very achieved academician, but when we were building the old con with Leopard, we both, Ganaxtimada, Nistu Ganaxtimada, when we were building that old con, we had on one of the days, and this is just, our medicine lodge, that morning they had to go get wild rhubarb because it's part of the holy food that was gifted from the sky people. They gifted rhubarb. And so then, Crazy Dogs all went and got that. So I just came here and got some of this wild growing onto this rock. And it is growing onto the rock. And then just in part of, I'm not here to tell what our ceremonies, it's we symbolically take that food and put it around the lodge or the teepee of those sitting holy. And then what that part of that ceremony is, it ensures it's a collective agreement that no one will go hungry. No one will go hungry as that is put there. And so I wanted to, go to your ceremonies. Go to the Sundance. Go to the powwow. I mean, go, any ceremony, the sobriety camp. They're having games. They're telling their sobriety stories, but they're also telling the stories of, the beaver, stories of, like, at this gathering yesterday, the day before, Helen was telling us how we got painted lodges, beaver bundles. It's those kind of, you have to sit with the story. When you sit with the story, that means it resonates into your being, to the innermost of your spirit and your soul. If you're Lakota, Dakota, Nakota, yellow calf buffalo, that, orange, all, if you look at Orin, you look at all these stories, when you listen to them, and that's like, eat your traditional food, and you listen, there's a lesson for you. There's a lesson, and even though you hear it, that's why we say stories over and over, because you might not be ready to hear the lesson, but if you hear it as you spiritually mature, and it's about spiritual maturity, as you spiritually mature, you get it. It's like, ding, the light bulb goes on and you get it. And you get things like, share with everybody. I was just happy because I thought I was bringing rhubarb, and then I had those bags of dry meat, and I thought, yeah, I would like to. I carry them because I always like to just chew on dry meat when I'm driving. But then I thought that a gift is not a gift till you give it away. a gift is not a gift till you give it away. So I said, oh, I could do that. And then I was just so happy when I seen my relatives, and Trace Spoon Hunter. Just I said, go get a knife, and you didn't have. It was almost like telepathic, like all the Netsitapi, the Blackfoot woman in that room, they just knew, and they came and they helped, and they made room, and I had a real nice, of course, it used to be called Hudson Bay, but it's the prayer colors. I had a nice towel, and we put all the dry meat and all that rhubarb. So I'm just sharing, and it was just so beautiful because I sat and I just enjoyed. I enjoyed watching people, gently and slowly go over there. And that moral code, they just took enough to taste. And maybe one more piece for later. But some stood there and they didn't run back to their seat. They just stood there and they took that piece of rhubarb and they put it in their mouth. And I get tears because then they knew the spirit of the plant. Fresh. I've been praying by it. I put out tobacco. You have these protocols of when you bring food. So I get tears because, I just saw people enjoy. And it was a new taste. Like the young man, I said, just put it in your mouth. It's the plant will talk to you. All the plants that grow will talk to you. And one of the way it talks to you is when your saliva comes out and you taste it, the essence of that medicine. And so I got to see him put it in his mouth and just, I get tears because you could see it just like, some people play slot machines and look for those lights, but sometimes when you see someone get the indigenous knowledge of a plant, he put it in his mouth and he chewed it slowly. He savored it, and his eyes lit up like those machines. And then he looked at me, and it's like telepathic when Indians look at you and they say, thank you. Thank you. He tasted it. But I was also, so welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I'm just sharing today, I just thought I would come on and check in. Native Wellness Institute, please say prayers. We're getting ready for our warrior camp at Grand Ronde. Jolene said we might have 125. It's usually just for youth, but there's just as many adults helping, cooking, laying out the plan. And Grand Ronde thank you, Grand Ronde, for always allying with Native Wellness Institute. But that's a lot of our team is over there. I think Casey Nicholson just got back from Alaska. Lori, Newbreast, and Dwight just coming back from their trainings. Are Lori and Shailene. I mean, it's kind of interesting because so many of our team is just out there. Like I was thinking, well, where is everyone today? I was supposed to be in Wampanoag, but they switched it to July 13th. And I got all ready. This is, Wampanoags, they were the ones that were, again, a moral code. When they saw the pitiful pilgrims, and they saw that these pitiful pilgrims were starving to death in 1621, they prepared a feast for them. And that's, why we have Thanksgiving dinner, eh? But the Wampanoag, I'm going to be working with them because they're at a growing stage as a tribe where they really want, when you work for the tribe, they want the workers to get along. It's called wellness in the workplace. So I'll be hitting there. But I have some good news for you, and I've been just like it's like bubbling with me. When this current administration came in, I have some very close. They're two men, and they want me to officiate their wedding. So it's getting solidified. So if you're anyway, I'm not going to invite everyone, but they'll do the invitations. But I'm officiating another marriage of two men. I've officiated marriages of two women, but I share it because that means they're comfortable with me officiating their vows to each other. LGBTQ2 spirit. And so it's coming together. Oh, and it makes me breathe because I start the prayers now and I see all of the good energy towards our same-sex marriages, and then I see what the challenges that they have to put up with. And I'm not going to go there, so another badass anti-slap. If you're a homophobic or transphobic, get a grip. Don't be torturing your children, your daughters, your mothers, your brothers, because you have some ism. Don't be tortured. So, it's about, there's changes coming because the millennials and Gen X, when you're dead, they won't be ism like that. When you're dead, there won't be sexism. When you're dead, there won't be transphobiaism. There won't be homophobia. Anyway, when you're dead, but you ain't dead. Your spirit's still alive. You can come back and watch. You can come back and pull their hair. You can light a smudge. Light some sweetgrass. It's always good to let your descendants smell sweetgrass when you cross over. So that's my exciting news. So I'm asking you please to pray, because it will be happening sometime the end of August. And I'll hear all about it. And it's also in Montana. I can invite you. The thing that we can invite you to is the International 30th Montana Two Spirit Gathering. It's on Flathead Lake, and that will be happening. Yesterday they were being real nice to the elders, so they gave us this sparkling mango water. So I'm going to take a little drink. Oh, that is so good. They were really, they not only had tea, they had coffee and that kind of water, but they were trying, when you bring an elder, again, it's a moral code. Bring them hot peppermint tea. Bring them hot chamomile tea. Bring them, red rose, a hot tea. Especially, the women. Men too, but especially the women, they like hot tea. And so it was so when we left, they go, we got it all. So anyway, they were serving us this sparkling mango Izzy. And it's not too many calories, not a lot of stuff with sugar or sodium. Because they were also, this is the other, and my family, they gave us, and I'm just sharing because these are things that are positive, productive, and proactive for your wellness, your mind, body, and spirit. I love these, the original V8, but it's amazing because one of the things, when you're over 70, over 60, you have to look at the sodium level. Because you're only supposed to have 1,500 milligrams, and this has 920. So that's like, you could have this, and then that's why you should. Anyway, I've been trying to be healthier. Just be healthy. I'm inviting you to be healthier to your body and to take better care of your body. So as I was coming on, I was saying, well, what's the topic? As always, you hear me say it is our birthright to thrive and to live joy. it's our birthright. And so the last 3 days I've just been with thriving. Yesterday there was a 10-month-old, there was a 6-month-old, and we were at when we went and gathered all of our aniscums, and then those who had more than enough shared aniscums. And it was so beautiful because there was an aniscum necklace being made for a set of twins. One's a boy, one's a girl. And that was like, it was just so beautiful. Again, the moral code. Everybody helped. How should it be sewn? How should it be? And then, and our teachers, they helped us. Thank you, Trace. Thank you, Sheldon. Thank you, Noppy. Oh, yeah, Noppy came in. And I don't know, all the 2 tables of people made Parfletch containers. We even had like a 5-year-old. There's like a 5-year-old and like a 8 or 9-year-old made painted Parfletch containers. And so there was this energy in that room. And the whole time we were making we'd gotten our Niscum, we prayed with them. And it was so fun because they said they like to be greased. I made a little one. I'm making some, but this little aniscum, this little baby aniscum right here. Trace kept saying, "Grease it up," So, like you gotta, it likes to be greased. And then we had all this buffalo hair, and then we had some gossamer sage. They like little beds, so you make a little bed for them. But they were greased. And I'm going to be making one for 3 special young people, my relatives. So I'm right in the process, but I was greasing them. And my other friend, she had bear grease, and bear tallow, and I took the Niscum and I was just rolling them. And when I was rolling them, man, talk about that thrive and that joy. It's like they were talking back, and they just loved it, like they were bathing in that, getting greased by that bear fat. And I was just rolling them. And I didn't want it because it just felt like, like when it's really good, a human baby, when you give human babies their first bath, and they go, and then they kind of, because when you first form as a human, you're in this big bathtub inside your mom. The amniotic fluid is a big bathtub. So that comfort, that's why we like to get into hot baths, or kids love to play in the water, because it reminds us when we were inside the life giver called your mom, and they gave you life. So I was like bathing these Aniscum, and I could feel the energy. And then I just thought, I'm supposed to pray more. So I was praying more, Spumukana, I was thinking the iron pipe, Talon, Spumukana, Hadley, Spumukana, Stukama, and as they were getting, and then just like let them, like when you take a baby out of the bathtub, let them just feel the air, and the air start to bring them back, back to this reality of not being in the water. So I laid them there and laid out the sage next to them and a little bit of the buffalo tuff, and then the different kind. There was different leather. Anyway, I was like, so that they knew where they'd be resting, and they'd become a necklace. If that makes sense. Because when you're making a necklace, and it was just so beautiful. And then I looked around the table, and everyone was cutting, and they had hole punches, and they were making a Parfletch bag. Then they were decorating. And then I looked to the other side of the table, and there's LP. LP came in, and he was making a Parfletch bag. And then in the middle of it, Marvin Weatherwax Sr. was telling us stories. And that was it. He was just sharing stories, and then everyone would share their story. and this was going on. Like, people didn't want the workshop was over, and people didn't want to leave. We were making Niskum necklaces, making parflets, and we were just enjoying visiting. And there was snacking, of course, and we were enjoying each other's company. And that's, I guess today, coming to you, Wellness Wednesday, Native Wellness Institute. Sometimes if you come to our events, we call that the Healing Village, where we have, we might have Reiki, a massage, um, we might have necklace making, we might have medicine pouches, all this kind of stuff, and you visit. And that's the venue. The venue for listening to each other and learning. And so yesterday I was just like, wow. But I was a participant, and it was just such a luxury not to have to, use. It's different when you're facilitating, but when you're a participant, you just participate and ask questions. Because I was, because we needed a Glover needle, and my sister was just sharing with me in the old days, because our ancestors didn't have Glover needles. They used to take when they first got nails, and they would chisel them down. They would use nails for getting through that thick, rawhide, or that thick, leather. And so that was our first Glover needles. And I also, I was thinking about too, because like one of the first pieces of metal, it was in the brake spring. Those were just cherished, because if the piece of metal that bowed, they would take that and make them into really sharp knives. The knives, because in a lot of the cultures, a sharp knife is the greatest tool you can give. And Atstanikiwa Agnes Iron Pipe, she used to always say in Blackfoot, that all a woman needs, and she meant us, was a sharp knife, because then you can get everything else you need. So just carry a sharp knife. That doesn't mean go to Walmart with your sharp knife. I don't care if you have a concealed weapon permit. No, go. So think about the spirit of, the things that you make. And it had to do with the language, because more of the language, even, like, you'll hear some people, non-native, say bison. And yeah, that's an okay word. Or you hear them say buffalo. But while we were sitting around that table, there was some kind of spirit in the word eniscum. As it flowed off, it was almost like a sacred word. Eniscum. It had more of a spirit than bison or buffalo. Anyway, there's 140 uses for the buffalo. That's why they were our grocery stores. That's why they were used for all of our ceremonies. So many things. So welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I just wanted to come visit with you before I head out to the sobriety encampment. So the other, I had some of my very precious relatives, Native Wellness Institute. Every year around March we go to Hawaii. So you're welcome to come there. We used to go to Kauai, but now we're going to Oahu. But one of my special relatives from Siksikai and Kainai, that we spent a lot of really good time together, several places. So they came down. And this is a moral. When you have guests that come to your land, you feed them, you gift them, and then you take them around on your land. Okay? You feed them, you gift them, and you take them around on your land. So that's my heart is just sizzling, I was trying to give them choice, but sometimes you need to not just show them when you take them. So we went up to below Chief, and it was kind of cool because we just went in one truck, and you need a 4-wheel drive. But soon as we got to Chief, and we understand protocol, so I love my niece. She instantly pulls out her ribbon skirt and puts it on. Because when you're going out for a ceremony, you can't wear pants. You gotta pull out your ribbon skirt or your skirt and put it on. Our scarf or anything else. So because these ceremonies, Mom always said, like, even when we're getting ready to powwow or dance, she would say, it's like you're adorning to have a ceremony with Estepatepi, creator. So you get ready. I mean, you don't go naked to go. So, and then Leo Wolfchild, there were several elders, when that medicine wheel, and there was, oh gosh, maybe about 100 youth, there was all kinds of people. So I was telling them that story, and we got out and we put our offerings, and we're walking together, and then the thunder and lightning just rolled. And, and I said, you guys okay? And they go, yeah, we'll cover it up. So we just did our offerings at that medicine wheel. And I said, they said we could come here anytime and pray. And so I had gotten some of a Niscom, or part of, Sheldon was telling me there was part of dinosaurs, and, and I believe that because one of the big back rocks that I found is a vertebrae, but it's big. So anyway, I was prayed with those, and so I left. I was putting them as an offering instead of the tobacco. I'm just praying because I thought the rocks, the Natu Sokotoks, could talk to the rocks. So the rocks at Buffalo Lake could now help bring back Eni. Because that medicine wheel, it's for all prayers, but it's to bring back the buffalo, because everything is contingent on the buffalo returning. And the buffalo are returning. Eni is returning. So we walked around, and then more thunder. Blah, 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 blah. It was like, boom! And then, I always look up because right, and Chief was like covered. It was covered, and it wasn't like a storm, and they call it a spring storm, but that way that thunder rolls like that, and then usually boom, lightning, boom, will come across the sky. So I just don't want to hit you in the head. It's not good to get hit in the head with lightning. Well, some people need that, eh? Do you know any relatives that need to get hit by lightning in the head, eh? Anyway, it was so beautiful. So I'm sharing, your guests. So then we invite them. When anyone comes from Siksikai, Kainai, or Batsapikani over the medicine line, they could bring them there, and they could leave an offering, and they could say a prayer. There's a lot of ceremony, and it's a secret place, so I'm not going to really tell you. It's right below Chief, Ninastical, but it's where the tourists can't see it. So it's kind of, and that because once you don't want that, and not tourists. Some tourists are good, but you don't want that kind of energy, around our stuff. So knock it off. So the ceremony, just the thunder and lightning, and we got to walk around, and it was just so beautiful. And so at that moment, when you show something special, I was saying to my guests, I said, well, because they really they were curious about Leaning Tree Cafe, and about Swift Current. And right now I'm just like, part of my happiness is Swift Current's sister Monty is having a little girl today. So I'll be looking forward to hearing the good news. Another new life comes when someone leaves. New life comes, so there's a new baby girl. And so I said, okay, what's next? And I was thinking, well, I could take them to many glaciers, but it was thundering and lightning in that way. And then I said, well, let's go by the Leaning Tree. And then I just realized not everyone knows that there is a real Leaning Tree. A giant from the Ice Age. This giant tree, and it leans. And that's why it's called Leaning Tree. But most people just see the campground and the cabins and the good espresso drinks you can get in the cafe and that kind of stuff. But behind there is the Leaning Tree. And so my friend had her Aniscum necklaces she made, and I had my Aniscum. Anyway, I said, well, I'll show you the tree. And I said, William Big Bull, he said this is a sacred tree, and you should always come and hug it and pray with it, get the energy. So we just got up and we just hugged it, and we touched some of our Aniscum to the tree to get the energy, because it'll be protection. And so we were there a long time, and looking, and the smell, because it wasn't thundering lightning there, but it was still wet. It was that wet smell where you could smell the flowers, and you almost sometimes can smell like a sweet pine smell, or you can smell, because all of the flowers are out, the sage is starting to pop. It's just that clean mountain air. And so we were able to, I'm encouraging you, because we look at the positive, productive, and proactive things you can do to uplift yourself. Go out and hug a tree. Go out and hug. Go to where the Sundance was, or a center pole. Hug it. Leave some tobacco. Hug it. And so that was, it just makes me elated with happiness that my friends got to see this. And then, we're trying to make our way. I was telling them, well, there's Blackfeet owned. There's 2 Sisters to eat. There's Johnson's to eat. There's a new rib place to eat. There's a new pizza. I was just like naming off. And then I finally, I said to my guests, well, on 0 to 10, how are you feeling? And they're saying, oh, about a 4. And I go, so they weren't like, because when Indians are 9 or 10, you better get them. That's protocol. Get them. You better start cooking for them, or take them to a place where they can eat sustenance, spiritual sustenance, to feel good. Because after that emotional giving of making Aniscum necklaces, listening to, man, when we got to listen to Herman, Marvin Weatherwax, and Sheldon, and Sandra, and Trace. Trace is just an excellent facilitator. It takes it's good energy. So anyway, I said, well, what do we could either go eat at the lodge, because they have some short ribs. So I said, well, but let me take you a little into going to the sun, because they had a bit of going to the sun. So anyway, War Pony, come on, War Pony. War Pony just, and then I looked and I saw a blue sky. I said, see, where I'm taking you, it's going to be dry road. And, I could hear them. How does she know that? Because you read the sky. When you have a moral code, and or the philosophical, when you know the land, I knew it would be dry in there. I said, well, let me take you up. I'll show you where you can ride the boats. I'll show you where there's medicine. I'll show there's bears. Yeah, there is grizzly bears. There's some moose, and there's some tourists. Remember, it's tourist season. Can we shoot them? Woo-hoo! Anyway, so we started going to the sun, and they hadn't been there, or they hadn't seen it in a long time, so we had to stop. feel it. Get out. Pray. Stop. Get out. Feel it. Pray. And then finally we made it up to Jackson because right now they haven't cleared the top. There's too much snow. It's not clear, so you can go to Jackson, and it was chilly, but we got out, and there was a picture from 1911 how big the glacier is, and then I go, see, it's still pretty good size. That's where all our water comes from. And then from there I showed them, look at all the waterfalls, how burstful, how gigantic the waterfalls are, just spraying out, because that's how much good water is coming from a little bit of melt of snow. So then, anyway, we went there and we drove by the gorge. And I said, I'm just showing you because you guys need to come back and we'll go slower. We only have a few hours. It's going to get dark by 10. By 10, it gets dark. So I said, and there you can, the boat comes out. You can take the boat and then you can get out and hike and you can come back down. And I'm just sharing this with you because think about your traditional land. If you're in, the Southwest, show people around before it's 100 degrees, eh? Show, if you're on the coast, take them to the ocean. Let them eat fresh oysters. Hey. And then, but if you're on the east, wherever you're at, and if you can, let them feel the land with their feet. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Feel your land with your feet. So then we were able to, and by the time we were seeing that, it was getting later and later, like 8:30, almost 9. And so I checked in with myself, and I'm doing pretty good on taking good care of my own self-care. So, and I look back and my guests were yawning and I was yawning, and I go, okay, I'm getting tired. I'm going to take you back to your vehicle and go put on my pajamas. Oh, well, I forgot to, I guess, I was just thinking, before I went to go into the sun, after going to the sun, and it's muddy where I live, I really am honored, and this is, like a moral code. I brought my guests to my house. I brought them out to see the water, and maybe I'll just walk you out right there because we just I said to you, get in the back, but when you're driving down my driveway, it looks like you're going into nowhere land, and I like it like that. But then we came out and we walked around, and they got to see the water, because the water's right now it's looking pretty good. There's still blue sky. So we walked out. I was so happy because through their eyes I could see what I see every day. The geese down there at the end, the blue sky. And we walked out here and they just leaned and looked at my niece. She goes, this is where the badass auntie does Wellness Wednesday. Anyway, I said no, because this is my oasis. This is where, when you do healing work, to replenish, to let go, you have to live in a place like this. And so think about that, when you're doing your healing work or you're facilitating it, you always have to go to that have the safe place that you go. And so we were just out here leaning over the banister. My new lawnmower, his name is Tesla. Tesla's done a really good job at mowing. Then I was showing them over there how high the water was, all the way up, was breaching. But now the water's coming down a little, so that's good. We're not going to have like the flooding. But it's it's almost the solstice. So I'm coming to you. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. It is the solstice is kind of interesting because it's going to be June 20th and the 21st because the solstice starts like 1 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's like Saturday Sunday solstice. So get ready because that's when, and be good too. It's Father's Day. It's Juneteenth. There's a Two-Spirit powwow on the 19th on Friday in Missoula. On the 25th here, we're having a Two-Spirit parade. Raven, Heavy Runner, and the gang. It's a new day of appreciation, and that's part of that moral code to be gentle and respectful to everyone's choice about how they are living their life and who their identity, who they are, and so I was thinking, okay, today's the 17th. Whoa, a couple more days. And that's when there's the shift. I always remind you that when I was in, Peru and I was with that Inca speaking man, he said that every 26,000 years there's the big renewal. So on December 21st, the solstice 2012, the new 26,000 years would be coming. And and he said there would be floods, earthquakes, and pandemics. He said that in 2012. So he said it's important that you're in a prayerful state or a ceremony during the solstice. That's why around here, some are getting ready for one of the bundles, a Sundance camp. That's, so think about what are you doing, even for Father's Day, which is on the solstice. If your father's alive, celebrate him. If your father is not on earth, celebrate him. If you have young sons who haven't even made a baby yet, teach them the sacredness of men and the sacredness of being a good father. And that's part of that moral code. And so I was looking at, I always have pictures of my dad, mainly around the living room area, but think about your dad, because my dad was 1936, he was born, Ninna Monokini. And he was just, he had that moral code. He never, he never wasted anything. He used it. He kept things sacred. He would always, boarding school survivor, he always wrapped rubber bands. He took everything and kept them safe. Keep them sacred. And how he loved to laugh. He loved baby. He loved, his two dogs that he had before he left the earth and got that lung cancer. One was named Sam. And I think the other one's named Charlie. And Sam's his dad and Charlie was his brother. So he names his dog after. Anyway, I just think about your fathers. And if for some reason your father wasn't there, celebrate your mother. Give your mother a happy Father's Day card. If she was filled in for the fathers, or any of your uncles that filled in for the fathers, or any of your brothers that filled in for the fathers, any of that, your sons, give them a celebration, because it's time to celebrate our men as we're celebrating our women. And, so I'm going to saddle up and go to the sobriety camp. It's going on till Friday on the Blackfeet Reservation. Crystal Creek is sponsoring it. They sweat today, so I'm going to head in there because they want to, they've invited me to come tell my, how did I stay sober for 38 years? And I'm going to share, my Al-Anon story. But I think more so this moral code that I've been talking about, because by no means am I perfect. I am not perfect, but I'm trying to do the next right thing. The next right thing And so when you think like that's a different way, the next gentle thing, the next loving thing, and to do it with a good heart. That's to do it with a good heart. So just with that, that's the simple message. That's some indigenous knowledge. Don't be an a-hole. Be a good neighbor. Be a good relative. Omatakwiyase. Yeah, be a good relative. So with that, we'll see you next Wednesday. Kitakito Matsuno. Kitsikako mem. We love you very much. We'll see you next Wednesday.